Welcome in, and thanks for joining us for the WHHI Daily News, where we strive to bring you more Lowcountry news more often. I'm Bob Stevens. Seems like we've seen more of former Governor Nikki Haley in Beaufort County the last month than we saw in her years as governor. She's making a third campaign appearance, this time in Beaufort on Wednesday at the Chambers Waterfront Park to speak at 6 p.m., leading up to Saturday's end of the GOP primary. Early voting still going on all this week at the 4 regular early voting centers: John Galt Road in Beaufort, the Bluffton Rec Center, the Hilton Head Government Center, and the St. Helena Library, with all precincts open on Saturday, the 24th. Recent polling still has Haley 30-plus points behind former President Trump. Residents and tourists in a couple of popular Lowcountry areas are going to get improvements to their walking paths in neighborhoods this spring. Construction's beginning on a new 12-foot wide pathway on Hilton Head Island from Folly Beach Road through to Islanders Beach Park that builders hope is finished by April 15th. The town has budgeted over $1.6 million for that project. Beaufort County, meanwhile, is spending nearly $5 million to rebuild and improve the 3.5-mile bike and pedestrian path along Laurel Bay Road just north of Beaufort. The extra penny sales tax we're paying now, along with a grant from the State Department of Veterans Affairs, is going to fund that project that will rip out the old 5-foot wide path and build a new 10-foot wide concrete path running from U.S. Highway 21 to the Laurel Bay Military Housing Complex. We all know what it's like to think you've got a deal and then the other side presents a list of changes at the 11th hour. That's apparently what has happened between the town of Port Royal and Safe Harbor Marinas. According to the Island Packet, just before Town Council was going to approve a deal for an easement to extend the Spanish Moss Trail with Safe Harbor, the marina operator handed in a list of demands before it would agree to the easement. Needless to say, Port Royal officials not happy. They are at the point of looking at condemning the property they want instead. Somebody's about to own a piece of Lowcountry history, or maybe infamy, with the sale of the Murdoch family home, Moselle, and the 21 acres around it for about $1 million this past week. The auction company J.P. King had put up the property, asking for a minimum bid of $1.1 million. The entire hunting estate of 1,700 acres was sold last year for $3.9 million, but the main house and acreage around it were broken off in last week's auction. The sellers saying they already had homes nearby and only wanted the larger property for hunting, farming, and timber. The anonymous buyers say they'd like to turn their 21 acres into a horse farm. For more details on these stories and other Lowcountry news, we invite you to visit the sources listed on your screen. We're going to talk sports a little later on. The weather forecast is at least dry for the rest of the week. Maria will be back to join us tomorrow. And we've also got coming up some interesting looks at Beaufort's economic forecast headed into 2024. We'll talk some sports, as we mentioned, with Justin, and we're going to talk with Senator Tom Davis. The House and Senate in Columbia getting really busy. We'll get updated right after this.